The U.S. Senate is voting on a series of amendments to Donald Trump's tax cuts bill. Senate Republicans are rushing to pass Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill before his deadline of July 4th. Democrats are pushing for amendments to protect public health care services. Alan Fisher reports from Washington, D.C. on the progress of the bill.
It's been a long day on the Senate floor already, with several amendments to the bill, none of which have been successful, but every vote is taking this closer to Donald Trump's desk. The Republican leadership say it delivers on a lot of Donald Trump's election promises. It'll mean tax cuts, it'll mean no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. It'll mean more money for border security and also an increase to military spending, which also includes Donald Trump's Golden Dome project to protect the United States. But there is some concern in the Republican camp and also with the Democrats. They're worried about blowing up the deficit. They say it'll add $3 trillion to the deficit over 10 years. And also it could mean 11 million people lose health coverage, either through national and state programs or through losing the ability to pay for their own individual program known as Obamacare. Certainly Chuck Schumer, the leader of the Democrats in the Senate, said the Republicans need to stand up against Donald Trump.
When Donald Trump says this bill won't cut Medicaid, he's lying. When he says this bill will grow the economy, he's lying. When he says this is the best thing Congress could pass for our country, he's lying. So what are my colleagues on the Republican side going to do? Listen to someone who just makes things up? Listen to someone who peddles lies and fantasies? Follow Donald Trump off a political cliff by passing a bill that will be disastrous for the people back home?
As for the Republican leader, John Thune, he says it's time for them to forget the amendments and push ahead with a bill that he says delivers on everything Donald Trump has promised.
Let's vote. This is good for America. This is good for the American people. It's good for working families. And it's been a long debate. I know people are weary, but at the end of the day, we want to get this done so that this country is safer and stronger and more prosperous, not only for today, but for future generations of Americans.
The Republicans are convinced they'll be able to get this bill through. Remember, 3 defections, and there are 3 people who've said they're considering voting no. Means that the Vice President, J.D. Vance, will have to come in and break the tie. 4 defections will kill it in the Senate. But the Republicans still believe they'll be able to push it through, and it will be on Donald Trump's desk by the 4th of July. Alan Fisher, Al Jazeera, on Capitol Hill.
Former Trump ally Elon Musk is promising to form a new political party if the spending bill passes. Posting on his social media site X, the world's richest person describes the bill as utterly insane and political suicide for Trump's Republican Party. If it passes, he says he'll form the America Party the next day. Bill Schneider is a political analyst and professor of public policy at George Mason University. He joins us now live from Washington, D.C. So, Bill, Elon Musk has posted on X. He's calling the bill utterly insane. He says that if it passes, he'll form the America Party the next day. Would a third party formed by Elon Musk be disruptive to President Trump's agenda?
Well, it could make some trouble for President Trump. Elon Musk is a billionaire. There are not enough billionaires to form a party in the United States, even if they're unhappy with President Trump. How many can there be? Now, he has some issues. Both parties have issues with President Trump, who is not a very popular figure. He has a lot of opponents, a lot of critics, particularly among women in the United States. Republicans, almost all of whom are likely to support this particular bill, the one big, beautiful bill that President Trump wants. But they're very worried about how much debt it's creating because of the huge tax cuts. Democrats are worried about the dangers to the safety net. It's kind of hard to put those two worries, those two constituencies together into one political party.
Bill, let me ask you more specifically about the bill that will be voted on in the Senate. Trump obviously expects it to pass, but there is opposition to it from some Republicans. Where do things stand? And why are some Republicans against it? And do you think that it will ultimately pass?
I think it will ultimately pass because Republicans don't dare destroy President Trump's standing. he has a way of coming after them, which makes them very much afraid of him. He can support opponents when they run for re-election in a Republican primary. He can put up his own people, his MAGA supporters will run opposition. And at the very least, even if they get nominated, they have to win a Republican primary, and they have to spend a lot of money to get the nomination and to overcome Trump's opposition. So his opposition is very meaningful to Republicans, and they're likely to vote for what he wants, even if they don't agree with it. And the reason why many Republicans don't agree with it is one word: debt. They've always been a party opposed to the national debt, trying to reduce the national debt. And this bill increases it by $3 to $4 trillion.
Bill, what are the ramifications for Trump if the bill doesn't pass? And on the other hand, if it does pass, will that pose any political peril going forward for Trump or other Republicans?
It will certainly pose a lot of problems for Republicans, because the Republican Party right now has an inherent split. There's a divide. You have the MAGA people, Trump's followers, who are really in control of the party and have terrified office holders in Congress with a primary opponent who can cost them a lot of money. So Trump does have a certain amount of power in the Republican Party, and he has a following based on their concerns about his agenda. Democrats despise President Trump. What moves Democrats is the safety net. What they're trying to protect in opposing this bill is health care, is food stamps, is nutrition programs for people who are poor and for people who are suffering. They have different concerns, but people in both parties oppose this bill, and both parties are split. But they're split on different issues, and it's hard to see how they can move together.
Bill Schneider, political analyst and professor of public policy at George Mason University. Thanks so much for joining us here on Al Jazeera. Great to get your perspective.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.